It is a Monday on the SportsGrid Network, and it's time for the early line. Rise and shine, rise and grind. New week, new money as we move forward. This week, the PGA Championship is going to be center stage in the Philadelphia area, a major championship on the line. Can Scottie Scheffler get it done? Rory McIlroy and all the superstars will come together. In the NBA Eastern Conference, the New York Knicks once again move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're waiting for those Western Conference Finals, which could be a closeout situation in Los Angeles tonight between OKC and the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot to go over in Major League Baseball, and hockey is just heating up. The Montreal Canadiens take a series lead over the Buffalo Sabres, and so much more. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri, and for 2 hours, we got you covered on all of the hottest topics. Joe, how was the weekend? How was your Mother's Day? And away we go.
It was all good, Donnie. And listen, I'm happy for Philadelphia because at least they're going to get a sport in their backyard that won't allow them to be swept this weekend. So that's good news for Philadelphia fans. Just saying.
Schwarber heating up just in time as everybody else bails out in the playoffs in the city of brotherly love. That's just the way it goes. But you know what else happens now? You might be a little bit tired from this weekend. You might need extra caffeination, and along with that, a super hot topic delivered by Joe right now.
Well, it's funny, Donnie. I think we do need to talk about the chaos that happened yesterday with the NBA Ping Pong Ball Day. And, of course, the brutal reality check that was delivered to the front offices that spent the last 2.5 months of the season putting out a product so unwatchable that it should have come with a formal apology. Well, for the Washington Wizards, well, mission accomplished. Congrats. You finally got that coveted #1 pick after only landing the #2 pick for 3 of the last 6 years. They did finally catch a breeze and landed that top spot, so kudos to them. But for teams like, the Indiana Pacers, boy, oh boy, was that a disaster on so many different levels. Now, when you have been handicapping the boards for as long as we have, you learn that one of the most important rules of the game is the math does not care about your feelings. And yesterday, the Pacers president, Kelvin Pritchard, there took to X to offer a public apology to his fan base. Why? Well, because the Pacers landed the #5 pick in a lottery. But thanks to a trade stipulation in the Ivica Zubac deal, well, that pick now belongs to the LA Clippers. Yay! So the Pacers finished the season with a pathetic 19-63 record. They endured multiple double game losing streaks, including a 13-game losing streak. Their fans had to suffer through a year where Halliburton was sidelined with an Achilles injury, and the team looked like they were playing in slow motion. And after all of that tanking, Pritchard's defense for the failed gamble on the lottery pick, well, was, quote, "I thought we were due some luck." Here's the reality check. If I had a dime for every time a bettor told me a team or a player was due for a win, I would have retired to a private island a long time ago. Because here's the math reality. Indiana had a 14% chance at that #1 pick, but they had a combined 48% chance of it landing at #5 or #6. They literally hit the most likely outcome, and yet the front office acted surprised. The trade where they gave up this lottery pick for a 29-year-old Zubac has, wait for it, are you ready? Played exactly 5 games for Indiana this season before once again getting hurt. It's head-scratching. This is a massive lesson, though, for every bettor watching this. Don't ever bet on due. Whether you are at the craps table, the sports book, or the NBA draft lottery, the universe doesn't owe you a win because you've been losing, especially when you're losing on purpose. The Clippers are sitting pretty with the 5th overall pick right now in a loaded draft, and the Pacers, well, they're left holding an apology note in the 19-win season. You cannot slow play your way into success by losing on purpose and praying to a plastic ping pong ball. The Wizards are celebrating today, and their fans, well, they should, because they have nothing else to celebrate. But the Pacers, well, they're a cautionary tale of what happens, Donnie, when you gamble on luck instead of logic.
Exactly. If you're going to have a bad season, at least get your draft pick and say, hey, let's celebrate the future. They have no draft pick now, and Joe is right. Walking through the casino, look at that board on the roulette table, Joe. 8 straight blacks have come out right now. Woo! We got to go red. Oh, no, it's individual spins here. Why did it come out black again? That's impossible. Good luck on those type of theories here. And yes, if you should have that apology, right after that apology, Joe, should be, I resigned from my position because it was all my fault at this point right now. Let's get to the Hot Topic show on Monday, which includes the early lineup, Joe. Wait a second. I saw group hugs. I saw huddles. The end of an era out there in Golden State. It's now the beginning of a new one, apparently, because Steve Kerr's like, yeah, I'll come back 2 more years. Let's go.
Well, I guess the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right, Donnie, they say? And, well, I guess it could be. Does that mean Draymond's coming back? I mean, one of those two had to go. So if Kerr is back, is that the end of Draymond Green here?
By the way, the conspiracy theories were out yesterday, and I loved them. Like, wait a second. Does he know that they're going to probably win this lottery out of nowhere, and he's going to come back for a 2-year extension? Didn't happen for Golden State, but I am surprised Steve Kerr is back out there in the Golden State. Bobby Cox, 84 years old, passes away, the great manager of the Atlanta Braves. And if you wanted to get into an argument, he was probably going to win it until he was thrown out of a game. Bobby Cox passes away at 84.
Just one of the old school true baseball guys, yep. Donnie. And he was the right guy with the right team in the right era. One of the all-time greatest, beloved by Chipper Jones and company there in Atlanta. And will go down as one of the all-time greats in Major League Baseball.
Like, if you were a baseball player, you had to love to play for him. Even if you were wrong on the field, he would back you up and get himself tossed just to cover for you. That's what those guys loved here. 84 years old, one of those fireballs there throughout the 80s and 90s here. Great manager, passes away here at 84. Let's get over to the New York Knicks. They advance after wiping out the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll talk about this, Joe, a little bit more in the show. 144-114. There's 4 games in the playoffs where the Sixers lost by 30-plus points here. Can't happen. But that's it. Restart in Philadelphia. The NBA is the one sport where you can't start over. Why? Joel Embiid, let's just say he makes $60 million. All right, just trade him away. No big deal. You got to take $60 million back. Paul George, he's terrible. Start over and trade him. You got to take $50 million back a year there. The Sixers aren't restarting anything. This is going to be a tough 3-year run for those Sixers, Joe. And they got crushed by the Knicks.
And you gotta love, Josh Hart on his way out of town, just like squeezing the lemon on the open wound there. Hey, I used to think Philly was a sports town. Yeah, maybe not so much anymore. Ouch, Donnie, ouch.
Here's the reason why I loved it, and it's great to embarrass ownership because they did that. Like, say what you want about Joel Embiid. He screamed at the trade deadline, don't duck this tax. Get us some help. You know what the Sixers did? They ducked the tax, got nobody, shipped players off, and they got hammered. Shout out to the Philly fans for making a little bit of a dime and embarrassing the ownership on the way out the door. That should be a wake-up call here. The Washington Wizards, number 1, Joe, they tanked appropriately last year. They traded for superstar players and said, sit out. We need to lose. Let's get ready for next year. And Joe got the number 1 pick, the most irrelevant franchise in sports. Did they just become relevant now, Joe?
Well, you look at the roster, Donnie. They have got now. They're going to have the number 1 pick. It could be Dybansta. It could be Boozer. But any which way you cut it, the Wizards, maybe it's time to start trusting the process.
Yeah, trust the process like the Sixers at the end of the process. Maybe a new process for Washington here. I'll tell you another process. Be good on special teams in the NHL. Have a great power play and a great penalty kill. You'll win some games. Carolina sweeps out the Philadelphia Flyers in 4, 8-0, Joe, in the postseason.
Yeah, but unlike the Sixers, the Flyers didn't go out, didn't lay down, Donnie. Yeah. They took them to overtime. They emptied everything. They left it all out on the ice. It just, listen, you ran into the wrong team. Carolina's just the better team.
The Canadiens pick up a win to take that series lead over Buffalo, and Sean Strickland captures the UFC Middleweight Championship. And we will be back after this short break. Don't you go anywhere, people. Come on. Spreadlines here on a Monday, getting your week started in style. Some big games to cover and some playoff action to go over. Let's get it started here in Cleveland, Rock City. Get it ready to go. Why? You're going to need it. You're going to need those fans. 2-1 series right now in favor of those Detroit Pistons here. And tonight, tip-off at 8 o'clock. The Pistons in town to take on the Cavaliers. This line open, Joe, -3.5. You see that graphic? Still sitting at 3.5 and a total, which is around 212.5. Most outlets have moved up to 213 and 213.5 live right now. Cavaliers looking for a win on their home court here. 2-1 series lead, Joe. I need a spread line for this game tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of great, too, because seeing the total 211 as an open, Donnie, we're seeing 213, 213.5. So the total's getting bet up. And I understand that because oftentimes with Cleveland, especially playing at home, we have seen they're better offensively at home than they are on the road. The problem here, Donnie, is the market is not buying Cleveland going back-to-back with James Harden bailing them out late, right? Don't forget, this game was, Cleveland was losing that last game with under 5 minutes to go in the game. And Detroit, unfortunately, couldn't close it out. They couldn't get a big bucket, but Harden finally showed up. But that doesn't mean you're going to need another 35-plus from Donovan Mitchell. I still don't know where Jarrett Allen is in this series. There is still a lot of congrats. You know, you didn't go down 3-0. But I don't blame the market for being hesitant on just running to the window to back Cleveland because they're home. They're a very inconsistent team. The one thing we know, Detroit, I think, can learn a little something there from that loss. I like the dog here tonight, Donnie. I'd be shocked if this number doesn't creep back down here a little bit.
Are we getting a sweep out there in Tinseltown tonight? Why? The Oklahoma City Thunder looking to close out the Lakers in a sweep. Now, this game opened up as a 10.5-point spread. It still sits at 10.5 this morning and a total of 214.5. And by the way, we talked about some NBA action over the weekend, Joe, on this show on Friday. I loved the spot that the Los Angeles Lakers were in on Saturday night. I loved the fact that we had controversy in the refereeing, which meant that, hey, we don't want to go completely one side. Let's even it out for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the Lakers got hammered, 131-108. Maybe you thought yesterday the Sixers would have a last stand at home. They completely rolled over. The public is expecting a blowout tonight, Joe. What's your spread line between the Thunder and the Lakers?
Well, you know, Donnie, I was like you on Saturday, only I cut the game in half because I figured if we were ever going to get anything, it was going to be early. And sure enough, the Lakers took the lead into the break. Boy, did that go hard left after that in the second half. And, Donnie, what have we seen, just much like you mentioned the Sixers and Knicks, what did we see to think that the Sixers were somehow on the same level as the Knicks? They weren't. What have we seen to believe that the Lakers are on the same level as they're not? And OKC has been there and done this, much like the Knicks. I think there's a lot of parallels. I think this number is going to continue to rise. Lock it in while you can, because ultimately, I think it's going to get ugly in the second half, much like the Knicks game did against Philly yesterday. Would not shock me if this has got blowout written all over it.
Minnesota's got a little bit of life in the NHL, and also maybe a goalie change there for those Colorado Avalanche. Take a look at this game coming up, Joe. Slight favorites at the opening number at about a -118 price for the Avalanche. It's increased slightly here, up to -130s and -135s in the marketplace. And look at that total, 6.5 goals are expected here. Minnesota, can they get even closer now back to this series, Joe? What's the spread line for you tonight here?
Well, back against the wall. They got it done at home, right? In a Game 3 situation. Couldn't go down 3-0. That's kind of what we expected. I mean, going into that last game, Donnie, everyone was like, oh, I thought we were going to get more from Minnesota. Like, listen, the series doesn't start till somebody wins a road game, right? It doesn't happen. And right now, listen, Colorado got to regroup a little bit, although they don't have to. I mean, goalie changes and everything else cracks me up when they were clearly the better team at home in the first two games. But, hey, this is an all-important game. Can Minnesota step up and get it done? We had said from the beginning, Donnie, no way are we sweating out an under in this series, in any game. And I'm not doing it tonight either. 6.5, that's fine. Lock it in. I'm on the over here. I'm expecting more. I don't care who's in goal. There is too much firepower on the ice in this game on both sides to think we're going to get a 2-1 game.
Let's get over to a little Major League Baseball today, Joe. 7:07 start up in Toronto today. The first place Rays taking on the Jays. You see that total listed at 7.5. Pretty good pitching matchup today. Gausman versus Rasmussen, and a favorite here for Toronto. Now, Toronto opened up around a -150, Joe, overnight. They're now coming down lower. You see the -138 listed on the graphic. Most outlets around that -130 price today. Tampa Bay still getting disrespected in the market despite being the first place team in the AL East, Joe. Tampa Bay and Toronto, what's the spread line for you?
Didn't they just sweep the Rays a couple a week or a couple of weeks ago? I think first week in May they were in Tampa and Tampa dismantled them. And now here we go again. This one in Toronto. You got the two aces, right? I mean, Rasmussen has been outstanding this year here. Gausman has been very good for Toronto too. The question is, what lineup do we trust more? It is hard to bet against the Tampa Bay Rays here. It's not exactly a train I want to step in front of, and as long as you're going to put a plus number next to it, I'm going to back the Tampa Bay Rays with their ace on the mound, and I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah, by the way, Rays playing good baseball here, expected to be last in that division, now in first place right now by a couple percentage points over the Yankees. Let's take a look at a division rivalry that's probably not going the way that you would like if you're San Francisco, but hey, at least San Francisco won a game yesterday, and Vecchio is safe for another day. San Francisco's going to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. McDonald versus Sasaki on the mound, always a heavy favorite. You see the graphic, -184, as a favorite towards the Los Angeles Dodgers, and a high total in this one, listed at 9.5. And by the way, Dodgers 4-6 in their last 10 games, lost 2 straight games here, taking on those San Francisco Giants. Heavy favorite for the Dodgers. Both of these teams expected better on the season, even if we do have the Padres and the Dodgers up top. Boy, San Francisco struggling early, Joe. Give me a spread line here.
How bad are the Giants when you have a Dodgers team just lost 2 out of 3 with your aces on the mound there, right? 2 out of 3, and now the Giants and you're still nearly a $2 favorite. Yeah, I don't trust the Dodgers offense. I don't trust the Giants very much either. But boy, oh boy, it feels like 9.5 runs. That's a big expect. I'm expecting fewer runs.
Giants -48 in run differential. Ouch. More baseball next. About midway through the month of May, Joe, Major League Baseball, you know what type of team you have here. And the interesting part of this early Major League Baseball season was taking a look at some of these teams who made some interesting decisions. Now, granted, the book isn't written on the San Francisco Giants for the season, but things aren't looking good. Run differential, terrible. They don't score any runs. And in that ballpark, you better score if you want to win. And also, pitching isn't helping them out either. And they doesn't maybe help where a manager's like, hey, man, in the SEC last year. Now I'm in Major League Baseball. Let's hear from Tony Vitello so soon on this season.
When things kind of get rough like they did tonight and fans start to boo and just kind of get into it in that form, I guess just what side of the spectrum are you on in terms of, do you understand and accept that when something like that happens, or is it maybe something you don't prefer when something like that happens?
Well, what would you do if they paid for their ticket, or they, at the very least, even if it was free, they chose this over everything? I mean, there's 85 million shows you can watch on Netflix or every other deal there is, or in this city. I haven't gone out much, but anytime I have, there's a lot going on. So, and then also, I kind of grew up in a weird situation. I never had one team that, was deeply rooted in my family and passed down. I've seen it in college and in pro sports, but I don't know, I kind of had a little different deal going on. So whether it's you paid for your ticket or you just chose to do this, over other options, or maybe your walls are painted orange and black and this is the team your whole family for generations has supported, you got a lot invested, so you want something in return.
He might get dunked over there on the wall as a splashdown himself sooner than later. This was a risk that they took in San Francisco. And again, we're still early. It's his first season. But in Major League Baseball, Joe, you're hired to be fired. And if things aren't looking good, the manager always the first to go. And this was a controversial choice when it came in as it was, Joe.
And you gotta wonder, too. I mean, the problem is, and what people may not realize is when you are successful as a college baseball head coach, there's a giant ego involved with those guys, Donnie, especially a guy coming from, Tennessee, a guy that had plenty of success in college. He's the end all be all to all college players. You're now moving to the professional ranks where guys make 10x, 20x what you make. You're not motivating them the same way. In fact, get out of their way, let them do their job, and the less you say, the more. How much have we heard from Vitello to start the season? I've heard more. I can't even tell who was the last manager of the Giants, because I can't even remember, Donnie, because they were that irrelevant and stayed out of the picture, and they won more games. He is like front and center of this organization. And last night, he showed up in a game yesterday in the sixth inning for a pitching change and didn't tell them which pitcher they wanted. The guys in the bullpen were sitting around looking at one another like, so which is it, lefty, righty? Like, who do you want into the game? It's a dumpster fire of epic proportions right now.
Certainly is. Now, let's get to a story that makes even more sense than maybe getting an SEC coach to coach a Major League Baseball team. CC Sabathia, I had to check if it was the Onion article. Inducted into the Brewers Wall of Honor today. CC Sabathia pitched basically a month and a half, 17 starts, I think it was, for them. He was so instrumental to their franchise that they put him on the wall, which tells you exactly what they think of their own franchise. A guy who played there momentarily to get them into the playoffs here has a plaque on the wall and immediately left them for New York because they couldn't pay the guy. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too, Donnie, isn't it? But I guess when you've run out of great players to actually induct into anything, I guess that's what, right? I mean, Robin Yount's already out there and Molitor's already out. Like, you don't have any. Who else is left, Donnie, right? They don't have a whole lot left to celebrate there in Milwaukee.
Like, I thought it was a fake story that we can all laugh at, like an AI thing, but no, it's real. I don't know. It's just, hey, is it that bad in Milwaukee at this point? Maybe it is. Cal Raleigh, he ain't going on no wall anytime soon. Retire this man's jersey. Should have been MVP last year. 0 for 26. Longest hitless streak of his career. Not hitting home runs. Not hitting for average. What happened to the man we loved last year, Joe?
I don't know, Di, but I got to tell you, my predictive market, tickets right now on fading him in just about every statistical category is looking really good, Donnie, really good.
Yeah, how about this one from Fox Sports here? The Dodgers announced that is this like we call it like reusable tweet every day? Glass now on the IL. Yeah, made of glass. Glass now, glass forever on the 15-day IL. But it doesn't matter. Dodgers probably go out and get somebody who's absolutely filthy dominant to take his place. We're rolling on a Monday, people. Keep it right here. You know, Joe, for years in Philadelphia, our favorite night here was not the Philadelphia 76ers playing an actual basketball game. It was ping pong night. We were trusting the process where we would be bad for 3 to 4 years with unwatchable basketball, but we would watch the ping pong balls and then the draft. That was our championship and our Larry O'Brien trophy. Now it's no fun anymore because the Sixers are getting knocked around, and we'll talk about in just a little bit. But if you are a Pacers fan, there's so many things that you can tell your fan base, Joe. One of those is, hey, guys, understand this. We were great. Then we got injured. We're going to take a gap year, as we like to say, for the Celtics. And then we're going to get a high draft pick, get healthy again, spend some money, and we'll be right back in it. But the one thing you can't explain to your fans is, now, hold on. If the plan was to be really bad, let's get excited for the ping pong balls and get a high draft pick. The Pacers, woo, top 5 pick. Oh, no. It goes to the Clippers because you decided to make a trade with the Clippers and get Zubac back. This is a failure of epic proportions where if you are in management or an owner, you can't do that. If you have a terrible season and gain nothing from it, that's a you problem. And, Joe, they did it to themselves.
They really did. I mean, but listen, I don't think all is done with the Pacers. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're going to bring back everybody healthy. Nembhard, Halliburton will be back. They still got Siakam. Now they actually have a center, which they did not have prior to that trade. But ultimately, Donnie, what it cost them was, in order to get a 29-year-old center with a history of injuries like they got in Zubac, they had to give up a top 5 pick, and that's exactly what happened there. But the math, the idea that this was always going to be somehow in their favor. They had a 52% chance of it landing in the top four and a 48% chance of it not. So, it was a coin flip, but they were willing to make that risk when they made the trade. The fact that they apologized for it is laughable. That from the math is not mathing. Like, you knew this was a coin flip, that this is likely going to happen, and you put out an apology to the fans? Unbelievable.
Washington, the big winner there, number 1 overall pick. The ping pong balls went their way. A.J. Dybantsa is a minus 500 to be the number 1 overall pick, which means he will be a Washington Wizard. By the way, let's hear from A.J. Dybantsa right now, Joe.
All right, AJ, what was your reaction when the Wizards got the number 1 pick?
Obviously I've been betting on myself for a little while to be a number 1 pick. So initially just thinking how I would fit into the team. I think I'm pretty versatile, adaptable, so I think I can play anywhere.
It's very tense in this room. This is probably your first experience doing this. What was it like sitting there waiting for the news?
Me, confidently, I wasn't really worried about 14 through 3, so I was kind of just let it play out. But then when all the guys sat there for the top 4, I was like, all right, yeah, it's kind of getting real. See what the number 1 pick win.
What do you know about the city of Washington and what it would be like to potentially live there?
Yeah, so, I know a little bit. Jordan Brand Classic was there last year, so got to tour their facility a little bit. I know a couple of the players. Trey Johnson played against them at Link. Who else on the team? I've been watching AD for a long, long time. Trey Young, even was at Oklahoma, so I know a couple of guys there.
I know you had an interaction with John Wall on Amazon Prime, right? What does it mean to you to follow in his footsteps and have him on the stage when they got the number 1 pick?
No, it's cool. Yeah, I've been knowing John since my UIPO days. He came to one of my sessions and was trying to give me some advice, and I really appreciate it.
Just this pretty much is one of the steps in your journey. What's this whole process been like for you?
It's been tiring. Been working constantly, putting on weight, getting a lot of shots up. Tired wrists, tired arms, but it's been good. I'm ready for it.
Thank you.
Joe, where did he want to go there? Because apparently when they asked him, hey, man, Washington got that number 1 pick, he's like, tough scene.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that they had Luther playing in the background there the entire time during that interview. Outstanding stuff there. But also, who knew John Wall would be the rabbit's foot there for the Washington Wizards? Who, and by the way, they have lost enough games over the last 5 years to deserve the number 1 pick for 5 years out of the last, 6 or 7? But they always somehow manage to lose out to teams like Dallas with a lower percentage gets the number 1 pick last. Should have been Washington. They got a whole lot of number 2 picks, but they finally got a number 1 pick. And Donnie, what is maybe the most loaded franchise-changing draft that we have seen in a very long time coming out of college, and the Wizards and John Wall pulled it off. So kudos. I think they're going to be pretty competitive moving forward.
By the way, again, an irrelevant franchise for feels like 50 years here. It's a big market here. They deserve a good basketball team. They like basketball in that D.C. area. Maybe now they have a team that they can get behind and certainly cheer on. We'll see if that makes some sense. Talking about getting behind and cheering on, certainly not those Philadelphia 76ers hammered against the New York Knicks. Didn't even put up a fight here, Joe, feels like, in Games 3 and Games 4. So we take a look at that final score. It was a hammer job, and then we get over to this. Here's Mr. Maxey talking about 76ers fans.
Tyrese, can you describe what it was like playing again against the Knicks here, where their fans come down here and kind of take over your home arena? Do you use it as fuel going
it
forward in any way?
absolutely sucks, if I'm being honest. It just sucks, bro. It just sucks, man. It just sucks. That's really all I can say about it, man. It's hard. It's definitely difficult. You know what I'm saying? And it's only one way to put a stop to it, and we have to go out there and win these games. Just being completely honest, we were better when we played them in the Garden this entire season. I know we lost Game 2 and 1, but Game 2 was better. Regular season was better. Here we was, I was telling them it felt louder here for them than it did in the Garden. And it's but we got to put a stop to it as a team. Winning these games, that's what's going to make, our fans louder than theirs or whatever. I don't know how to keep them out. I don't know the logistics of it, but it does suck. I can't even lie. It definitely does suck.
Like, it's not about keeping them out because, like, New York Knicks fans are passionate. It's close. It's easier to get a ticket in Philadelphia than it is in Madison Square Garden. We get all that. But you know what changes this whole dynamic, Joe? Win a game in Madison Square Garden. Come home 1-1. Fans will be excited. Win game number 3, and Philadelphia fans will storm into that arena for game number 4 and take it over and laugh at the Knicks fans as they leave down 3-1 back to New York. You can't fault Philadelphia 76ers fans who their ownership group told them, we're not going to help you out, so good luck with everything. Which means if I have a ticket and I'm a season ticket holder, or I bought tickets to Sunday's game before the actual series started, and let's just say I spent $500 on those tickets, and all of a sudden I can get $1,500 for those tickets, not to show up and sell them in a game that's going to be meaningless for the Sixers, I'm doing it, Joe, every single time. Sorry, Sixers.
Donnie, we did a caffeinated Joe segment last week on what are you doing, Sixers? The first thing you did after beating the Celtics in 7 was sent Embiid to the podium to tell everybody, please hold on to your tickets. And then you went out in game 1 and lost by 50 points. What did you think was going to happen? What did you show your Sixer fans, Sixer Nation, that you had a prayer against? Nobody is spending. If I can get $1,000 for my tickets instead of watching you lose by 30, I'm selling those tickets, Donnie.
It's 100%. Also, when you take a look at other sports, it's hard to compare because, again, Knicks fans are so close. There's a lot of Knicks fans in New Jersey. You get that. But the understanding of when a team has excitement built around them and the expectations grow, fans get even more excited. Eagles tickets, Phillies tickets, Flyers tickets, you get that. But when you have an organization that is running it back, things get old and boring. This isn't, Joe, where it's like, hey, the Sixers finally made the playoffs here. Let's see what they do. Every single year, they never get past the second round. And once again, coming to your own building down 0-2, you're selling your tickets. Come back 1-1. Oh, you know what? That's going to be a fun game to watch game 3. The minute they lost game number 3, every Sixers fan sold their tickets, and the Knicks fans are coming down on the weekend for an absolute party. That's just what happens here. It's not bad fans and the Sixers aren't a basketball city. It's common denominator, and it's economics that say, why am I putting up with this when the Sixers ownership already told us we're not going to go all in at this point? It's what it is. They sold their tickets. They made money. The Knicks are moving on, and we will be right back.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put their team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Let me understand this, Joe. Are we going to have any broadcast games on TV anymore? It's all streaming?
You got to pay to watch here, folks. That's just the way it's going to be, one way or the other. And I'm sure this will satisfy, the FCC looking into the coercion that's going on here with the NBA NFL broadcast rights? Yeah, this is all par for the course, I think.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All these idiots out there sounding off on Tiger right now. See, it's so easy to go after a guy that's hurt. He's hurt. Whether you call it whatever you want. He's got a little bit of an issue that he's going to fix. Okay? They're attacking. Attack. Why don't you all shut up and let him go do his thing? He had to leave the country to do it because of privacy? That's nauseating to me.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Now, I see him 15th, 16th, somewhere in that ballpark, and I think that makes sense, Donnie. I don't see him in the top 10. I really don't. I mean, when you look at, let's say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you start going into that, teams like the Cowboys or the Vikings or the Chiefs, and, could they take a flyer?
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Busy Monday here on the SportsGrid Network, the early line, the place to be, rising and grinding, having fun, and you never know who's going to stop by. It's on the right side. It's Joe Ranieri. We welcome in Tom Vecchio. After a big-time weekend in sports here, we look forward to the PGA Championships this week, as well as great NHL action, Major League Baseball, and the NBA, Tom. A lot of stuff to get to today. How we doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, a lot going on this time of the season. Before we know it, OTAs and training camp will be here for the NFL, but still prime time for MLB along with the playoffs. As you said, I'm ready to go.
Enjoyed hockey over the weekend. Would like to see my Flyers extend the series, at least one more game against Carolina, but that's a good hockey club. 8-0 so far in the postseason. But I got to tell you, Tom, when I watch my Philadelphia Flyers, I'm like, yeah, they're a little bit ways away. They just need a little bit more skill, and every power play I watch is horrible. And that just doesn't count this playoff run, this regular season, and 5 years previous. The Flyers have been terrible. I tuned in a little bit yesterday because I've been really enjoying, Tom, the Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens. I watched for about 15 minutes and saw a power play that almost had me falling out of my bed to perfection here. And we find ourselves with the Canadiens, a 2-1 series lead now over the Buffalo Sabres. Tommy, talk to me about this series and the Canadiens now with the upper hand.
They're certainly looking good, and the offense is finally coming through for them at a consistent rate. And, frankly, we keep seeing overs come through in this series. I will say the line's posted for, Game 4 has the line at 6.5 instead of 5.5. I've been playing the 5.5s, even with the juice at -130, -140. We're consistently getting scoring. I think this is going to be the inflection point in the series. We're going to start to see the unders come through. The Sabres themselves know they don't want to turn every game into a barn burner and try and win it 5-4 or 6-2 in this case. So I think this is where they kind of have to reel things in, and this is where we're going to start to see the under. So if you've been playing the 5.5s, that's great, but start to lean towards the unders now that we're seeing 6.5s out there.
I won't be doing it with the Ducks and the Knights. I'll tell you that, though, Tom. I am not sweating out unders in that series. Good job. I mean, for the Ducks, they just won't. They won't go away, man. 4-3 last night. Now, of course, 2-2 in the series. But as long as it's under 7, I'm likely betting the over moving forward.
It has to be. And frankly, it's like the Ducks to me are like a mini version of the Oilers that we've seen over the past few years. Like they have plenty of offense, and the goaltending and defense is a little bit shaky at times. That's really what it comes down to. And they're going to give up 3 goals, but they also can keep up with the scoring. So they're never a team that's truly going to get shut out. Like even, game 1 that they lost? They gave up 3-4 goals early, whatever it was, but they still scored 2 of their own. So if they can get the 2 goals, maybe a third of their own, you have to be looking to the over. And frankly, we're going to see one of Game 6 or Game 7 end 2-1. Just because that's what's going to happen in the game. But really, if you have a 7-game series, 5 or 6 of the 7 are going to go over.
Taking a look there at the Colorado Avalanche, we always think that they're probably the cream of the crop in the Western Conference, but dealing with a little bit of goalie issues. We know they can score, but the question is, can they stop other teams from scoring? Wild with a really good game number 3. I'm not saying the Avalanche are going to lose this series, but when you sort of take a look at the Carolina Hurricanes 8-0, really handling their business and waiting on their next opponent, how do you feel about the Colorado Avalanche, and are they in any trouble there in the Western Conference, or maybe just when they get to the Stanley Cup?
I think they are the best team in the West. This is not to say expecting them to go 12-0 throughout the Western playoffs just to get to the Stanley Cup. I think they are better than the Wild. They do have their issues. For me, it comes down to just what we get from the top-end defense of Makar and Taves, because I do think that's one of the best duos in the league right now, and I think they can shut down any other team's the opposing team's top unit. It really comes down to just the details of the game and beyond that, because they can keep up the scoring. They have the top end defense, the back end defense, and the goaltending, and shutting down, Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson and Matt Boldy and Quinn Hughes when they're on a power play. That's what it comes down to, limiting the scoring chances for the opposing team, and they can do their own scoring. I think they'll be fine.
That's going to be it's going to be a whole lot of fun there, Tom. I think ultimately, though, I mean, who's meeting in the Stanley Cup here? Who's meeting in the finals, do you think? Anything changed for you?
I still think it's going to be pretty chalky between the Canes and the Avs. I think that would give us the best series. Top-end offense, great defense, great systems, and truly 2 teams that deserve to be there. As the Canes have deserved to be there over the past few years, they've just run into a mini dynasty with the Panthers, and we know that the Avs have plenty of playoff pedigree. Avs, Canes in the finals.
Hart Trophy finalists have been announced here, Tom. Nikita Kucherov, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid as the 3 here. Should anybody else get any looks there? And also, who do you think wins the Hart Memorial Trophy?
For a portion of the season, I thought McKinnon was just the outright favorite as he should have been. And then we see Kucherov storm back. McDavid missed a little bit of time. A lot of people are going to say that Celebrini was snubbed. And, the gut reaction or like the knee-jerk reaction is, Celebrini deserves to be there. They should have at least 4 or 5 finalists. He deserves to be there. But, he wasn't top 3 in the league when it comes to points. He wasn't top 3 in the league when it comes to goals. And really the differential between 3 and 4, where he was at 4, and then McKinnon with 127 points and Celebrini had 115. Like, we're not talking about 3 or 4 points. We're talking about almost 15 point separation, which is a good amount. He really slowed down. The Sharks didn't make the playoffs. These other players, all their teams made the playoffs, albeit the Oilers and the Lightning got kicked out early. Celebrini deserves to be there, and frankly, Celebrini is going to be like the interesting pick next year. He's like, finally, he'll unseat one of the historic players that we've had before him. He'll be the pick next year.
All right.
All right, so I'm just curious, though, because if we have Avs and Carolina, who's holding the trophy? Is it well, if that's the case, it definitely stays in the U.S., but who holds it, though?
For me, I still think that the top end talent that the Avs have, what they have top to bottom in terms of not just the scoring that they have, but the system that they have, and knowing that you're going to be getting consistent scoring out of multiple players. And listen, Logan Stankoven for the Canes has been awesome in the playoffs. We're still missing a little bit from, Sebastian Aho at times, Andrei Svechnikov. I want to see a little bit more scoring from them consistently. They have to get it going. Seth Jarvis was a little bit slow, but knowing that we have a player like Marty Necas alongside Nathan McKinnon, we still have Makar, who's going to be the Norris Trophy winner. They have a little bit more top-end talent, and that's where I lean. It's like a 55-45 split, if you were to ask me how I put things. It's not some overwhelming favorite. I think the Avs are better. It's slight. I think it would go at least 6 if that were to be the matchup.
Tommy, quick crossover to Major League Baseball. 2 guys with 16 bombs, Aaron Judge and Kyle Schwarber. Aaron Judge is the favorite. Can we get both of these guys 50-plus bombs this year, Tommy?
50, 55 plus for both of them, but we still got to watch out for Jordan. I still think he has a chance to lead the league.
They're in there, and so is Tommy, man. Love to hear from you here on a Monday. We'll talk to you again soon for myself and Joe. Yeah, 26. 26. NFL news and notes. Love to see it. By the way, we're early in the month of, I'm telling you, snap your fingers a couple times, Joe. We'll already be in training camp and getting ready for week number 1 of the NFL. And it is schedule release week, Joe. And while over the break, we did get a schedule that was released here, at least for one game, opening weekend. Sunday Night Football, Joe. Cowboys and the Giants. They love putting the Cowboys and the Giants week number 1. This game will be at MetLife, which right now is called, I believe, New York, New Jersey Stadium for some odd reason for FIFA. But how about that, Joe? Home opener for the Giants taking on the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, let's get the rivalries going, right? We'll have the full schedule this week, Donnie, and 3 days on Thursday, I believe, and then we'll know how many home games your favorite team doesn't get to play because they have to travel overseas and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun to see how this all plays out.
One of the bigger free agents we thought, Joe, in this offseason would have been David Njoku, a really talented tight end here. He finally signs, as I say, May 11th or May 10th. The Chargers have agreed to terms with the tight end for a 1-year deal worth up to $8 million. Like this move for the Chargers. Chargers are one of those teams, man, that you look at as a whole. The talent is there, the coaching is there, but when do they put it together? David Njoku is going to help be a piece to that puzzle.
Yeah, and listen, Harbaugh and tight ends, right? Got to have a pass-catching tight end, somebody that can also block. And Njoku, he's just been buried with no quarterbacks in Cleveland for how long, right? But now he's going to have a pretty good one throwing him the ball. So I like the move, and I like the signing for the Chargers for sure.
Yeah, not a bad move there at all. By the way, I do get a kick out of this. Like the NFL is costing more money with subscriptions, but I do get a kick out of this one. Donald Trump's like, yeah, it's like $1,000 a game to watch these things. Well, not necessarily at that point, but it is getting expensive to watch the NFL, and they have antitrust laws that help them out, and yet they can still make everybody charge even more on top of what you already pay. Come on, guys, NFL, slow it down. Putting games on actual TV that everybody can watch, that's actually better for the sport long term. Come on now.
Yeah, but, not if the NFL has anything to do with it.
True.
And listen, it might as well be $1,000 a game because most people are just like, what are we doing? It might as well be $1,000 a game.
By the way, take a look at this. The Seahawks are generating soft interest in a sale after Super Bowl 2026 here after winning it.
Soft.
That's kind of interesting. Because it's going to be a lot of money. But, Joe, are we hearing on the back end hey, well, if you buy this team, there's going to be a billionaire's tax, which means you can't profit in that area. Are we worried about, political ramifications if you buy a team and what the charges will be? Because if an NFL team goes up for sale in a big market, usually teams/investors knocking down the doors to get in there.
Yeah, the problem is because of where it's located, it is likely, 20% more expensive than what you think it is. And that means you've got to make twice as much money moving forward. And you've got Sam Darnold as a quarterback. So I'm just saying, maybe it's not as easy of a deal as everyone thought it was going to be.
How about this deal? Breece Hall gets a job here with the Jets long-term. Why? A 3-year extension worth up to $45.75 million. I don't like it because you pay running backs on a bad team. It doesn't make sense. But understand this, Joe, in the NFL, there is a salary cap floor. You have to pay somebody, and at least he's a true performer, and he got his paycheck. I can't be mad at that.
Listen, the fact that this guy almost had back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing with that team might be one of the funniest things, Donnie, I have ever seen in the world. So I think it's money well spent. I think it's great. And I think that he's only 24 years old. Right, Donnie? You got to give the money to son. Yeah. He's only 24. So, yes, you're paying the guy while he's in his prime. I love the move.
You have to pay somebody. You might as well pay a guy that's actually giving you effort out there, and it's a good move there in that respect. How about the Giants? They don't want to pay Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know why they keep stringing him up. The man can't play anymore. Why is he even a prospect? And even when it's hey, we might bring him in training camp, and I tweeted out, Joe, you bring him in training camp. If every single wide receiver you have on your roster is in a wheelchair, then we'll call OBJ. The man hasn't been a factor in years. Leave him alone. Move on, John Harbaugh.
Yeah, no, but they won't. His name will still pop up across the board here. But again, I refer you back to those one-handed those grabs he was making in flag football. I mean, he might still have a little left in the tank, Donnie.
By the way, was this the worst ankle injury in the history of sports? Oh, no, we were worried a little bit about Bo Nix, who might be able to get back to work in June here. I'm not saying I thought he'd be back and be 100% ready to go, but is this going to be an issue, Joe, this season?
Could very well be, Donnie. I think that the sooner he can get back, the better. Wasn't pretty, from what we understand.
No. Shame, too. They might have been in the Super Bowl, but they weren't. And the Patriots went instead of them. Hour number 2 up next. More fun? Absolutely. Just getting started here in hour number 2. Big things this hour, as you know. We're going to have some prediction market access here, have some fun with that, but more importantly, best bets to start your weekend off in style, and some great guests, which includes Kevin Walsh of Game Time Decisions. That's going to mosey on along in the next segment and join us, and we'll talk about those Los Angeles Lakers. And also, is it a referendum on LeBron James? The times and the topics are hot, Joe. We will deliver for the people, because why? That's just what we do.
We got a big week coming up. Finally getting a little bit closer here to maybe some conference finals in the NHL and the NBA, not to mention the release of the 2026-27 NFL schedule coming up this week. So finally, we'll start having our first glimpse on how few games some of our favorite teams will actually win this year.
Leaks are already out now, and Sunday Night Football, it's going to be those Dallas Cowboys in town to take on the New York Giants in an NFC East battle here. So you know that's coming up. And also, PGA Championship this week from Aronimink. We'll get into that as well. But, Joe, it's time for some of those hot topics that we love to get to the people. And we're going to start with a video here. Wemby, usually even-keeled out there on the court, throwing haymakers with the elbow. Let's hear from Wemby.
I don't know. Honestly, man, I think it was kind of harder. Just because, I mean, of course, they're a really great team with him on the floor, but they play a lot slower when he's on the floor. Because, you know, everything is evolved around him. When he's not on the floor, everybody's playing. It's just like, you know, when every team is missing their best player, everybody plays free, they get more shots, more confident. So I think it was a lot harder, honestly.
You said it kind of shifted, you know, without Wembanyama out there. But did you all feel, it felt like late, you got a lot of stuff at the rim. Did you feel like the rim was a little bit more open,
Yeah, of course.
particularly in the fourth?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody know the rim's going to be a lot more open when he's not on the floor. But for them offensively, yeah, they play a lot more loose when he's not on the floor also. But yeah, I mean, he's 8 feet tall. So he going to cover up the rim anytime he's on the floor.
That the amount of physicality that people play with him, at some level, you have to protect yourself. Every single play on every single part of the floor, people are trying to impose their physicality on him. I get it. We get it. That's part of the game. But at some stage, he's gotten chucked. He's gotten pushed down in transition, running freely, all the stuff. He doesn't complain one time. We don't complain because we're just going to play. We don't really give a excuse my language. But at some stage, he should be protected. And if not, he's going to have to protect himself. And unfortunately, stuff like that happens.
Do you think his
Olivia Newton-John sang, "Let's get physical," and he did that yesterday. Boy, did he throw a wallop elbow, gets ejected here, setting the stage for the Timberwolves now. 2-2 series, Joe. How about that?
Yeah, I was a little worried about him breaking his arm. Like, you got to put some meat on them bones, son. Like, you're going to be thrown out. You got to make it count, man. It looked like Nas Reed was swatting a fly there. Like, come on. That is, and is the NBA going to suspend him? I mean, because you could, right? Isn't that the rule? Like, after a flagrant 2 like that, you get tossed. Isn't there a possibility of a suspension?
No, Joe. He's going to sit opening night next year for the first quarter. That's what the NBA will. They'll delay that extension. You got to get Wemby on the court, people. Don't worry about it. And by the way, if we get to those other hot topics here, Steve Kerr, 2-year extension with the Warriors. Thought he was stepping away. Thought he would go into the booth. Maybe be the head coach of another team at this point. But he does stick around Golden State. Probably got paid to do that. And also, does that mean we're just going to keep running the band back out in Golden State, Joe?
Yes, it does, apparently. I'm kind of shocked with you, Donnie. I didn't see this coming, but I can tell you this. The likelihood of Draymond coming back now, I think, is diminished as well, because maybe it's just Steph Curry and they try to rebuild here a little bit for the future. I don't see Draymond coming back with Steve Kerr.
A lot of hugs after that last game that they had. Thought it was over, but it's not. And maybe the band does get back together for one last try at a playing spot. Who knows out there? How about Bobby Cox, one of the great managers in Major League Baseball history? 2 separate stints with the Atlanta Braves. And that one you saw from 1990 on. The Braves every single year were a contender. Only won 1 championship, but everybody's playing under Bobby Cox understood the job here. Give me your effort, and I'll back you up. Bobby Cox, one of the best, passes away at 84.
True baseball guy, a legend. Some of the greatest arguments that you will see in Major League Baseball history with umpires was, but nobody lost it quite like Bobby Cox. And then you couldn't understand a word he said afterwards in the interview, Donnie. He was great. The guy was just baseball through and through.
Baseball through and through, which basketball through and through, not necessarily for those 76ers. They get hammered by the New York Knicks. And maybe their season was Game 7 in Boston, coming away with that victory, and they just had nothing left in the tank. I don't know, because they had no bench because their ownership group decided not to get them any help. But here's Josh Hart talking on the lack from the Sixers fans.
How many fans were here today?
Nah, man, because everybody was begging for Philly to not sell their tickets and all that stuff. So, man, I used to think Philly was a sports town. I don't know if it is anymore.
Come on now. I mean, hey, usually it's like, you put up with like the Yankees fans maybe because you see all the banners up there. Like, is New York really a sports town at this point, Joe? Like, is anybody actually winning at a high level? When's the last championship in the city of New York here? Oops. Been a little bit, right? Let's take a look about the Philly fan cry. Who's crying over the Sixers? Show me this video.
And I love Joel, and I hope he stays.
Oh, stop.
The whole team, they did amazing, but it's just heartbreaking. It really is.
This feels it. Now, see, it looked like she lightened up at the end there. Was she crying on this prank? And also, do you remember like Charger Girl that shows up now in every different uniform in Jersey? Is that what we're getting now, where this girl might show up at every arena once a team gets knocked out, fake crying about it? Could be. That could be something that you could build on, Joe, make some money with.
Donnie, I cannot. That is a pure representation of every Sixer fan I've ever met. That just encapsulate Sixer fans there to a T. You got to love it.
You do have to love it here. I can't, like, next series, if it is Detroit, that they take on, or Cleveland for the New York Knicks, it should be some fun to watch. That crowd is whipped up here. But also, they weren't far enough away, Joe, where they were so angry at James Dolan that they were trying to get boycotts on the New York Knicks here. Well, we'll see if they can win a championship here and hang a banner, as opposed to, let's hang a banner because we won the NBA. What do they call it? What's the NBA Cup? Remember that? You don't want to win the NBA Cup. You want to win the actual legitimate championship here. The Wizards, could they be on their way? Last time they won, Joe, they were called the Bullets. Now they're the Wizards. Number 1 overall pick. Superstars in town. Is it the rebirth of DC?
Yeah, if they only would have had a little more ping pong luck over the last 5 or 6 years where they landed with the number 2 pick all the time instead of the number 1. Who knows? But I got to tell you, you won the right draft, the number 1 pick, because that's going to be a really stacked and loaded team next year for sure.
Let's get back to business, Joe. Let's go back to Landover, Maryland, rebuild the Capitol Center, and get everybody back underway there. Maybe they can bring it out. By the way, not a good day here to talk Philadelphia. Carolina Hurricanes sweep the Philadelphia Flyers, and they're 8-0 in the playoffs. Rod Brindamore's got his team revving at the right time.
Yeah, but unlike the Sixers, who just laid down,
they tried.
The Flyers did not. The Flyers were never going to beat Carolina, but boy, oh boy, they gave them everything they had yesterday and just fell short a little bit there in overtime.
Maybe you had a lot of parlays out there. Maybe you had straight wagers. Maybe you had some prop bets out there. But I got to tell you, Sean Strickland winning that middleweight championship here. The books celebrate from East Coast to West Coast, Joe.
Huge, Donnie. I mean, we're talking about a $3-4 underdog here. And sure enough, guess who's wearing the belt? And it went to the judges, too, which a lot of people didn't see happening. Kudos to Strickland getting it done, man. It was actually one of the better fights we've seen. Both of those championship fights were some of the best that we've seen in a long time.
And then we move forward into the summer, Joe. What do we get? The 250 championship UFC on the grounds of the White House here. Something to look forward to. And also coming up there is the World Cup. I need to keep on watching this World Cup action. Getting a lot of slander right now. We'll see how it produces throughout the summer. But you know what? Kevin Walsh is going to join us next. Let's talk a little Los Angeles Lakers. Come on back. Over the summer where there's drastic changes and gas drops down to $3 a gallon, $2.50 a gallon in some states, and then you have some of the price markets go down. You ride that momentum is what Joe's talking about. So if you say right now, which party will win the U.S. House, and you think it's the Republicans currently trading at 20%, you take them now, and if good press comes, that turns into 25% and 30%, then you have the option to cash out.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
There is a pick tonight that Gabe has that, to some degree, I find completely outrageous. Then I looked at it a second longer, and it might be a really smart angle.
I like to test them a little bit.
I like
to test them a little bit.
I like that a lot.
Oh, yeah, you don't know? You don't know this team name? You should. You're in the sports business.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Number one, who asked for this? Nobody, but nobody asked for a bump up in the number of teams in both the men and the women's basketball tournament from 68, including the 4 play-in teams, to 76. And by the way, it looks like it is a near-done deal. ESPN and ABC News reported this morning that's very close to being done. It could be announced by the end of this week.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Come on now, it's a Monday party, people. I know Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so much more. And get your week started here on a Monday with us today. Look, you rise, you grind, you have a cup of coffee, you have some fun, and we bring in the guest for your entertainment only. DRS right here, Joe Ranieri and Kevin Walsh. Did you guys know Kevin Walsh got LASIK surgery? Congratulations, Kevin. Now you can see. Come on now. Look at him, LASIK. He had to get LASIK. Where's the glasses? Who is this guy?
No.
Just no glasses this morning. That's all. It's an early morning, but we're here. We're ready to rock. Just without the glasses, I can see well enough. So we're here. We're moving.
All right. Here's what I got questions for you, Kevin, because we talked on Friday. I told you, and I'm glad we don't do a show on Saturday. I loved the Los Angeles Lakers with the points on Saturday night. And as Joe Ranieri pointed out, I was like, hey, man, should have just taken them in the first half. They fell asleep in the second half. This series is just about over. But now we have one more game left. And I don't want to say, hey, look at the way the Sixers ended up. It was over. They're like, dude, I'm not traveling back to another arena. Let's just get it over with tonight. I have the Lakers in this game with double digits, Kevin. Can we get one last stand from the Lakers? Or how many players does OKC have that just come up on a night-to-night basis? Like, Uncle, you scream out here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with, to me, it would be Lakers or pass. The fact that through 3 games, most people be like, Lakers have played pretty well this series. It's like, really? And they're 0-3 against the number with it all being nearly double-digit spreads? And I'm not disagreeing with people. But there is something, I don't even know what it is. It's just like these slow body blows to spread bettors that it's like, it's 4. And then it's 8. And it's up. Now it's 12. And then just boom, it's 20. And it's like, I don't understand. Like, it was just right there. It evaporates quickly. It wouldn't surprise me if, here's the thing. If the Lakers are up at half, you know what that'll be? The 3rd straight game it happens. So, what does the score have to be for you to be confident you're going to cover this 10.5? The Lakers have to be up 10 middle 4th quarter. The other interesting thing is the fact that SGA still hasn't had an SGA game yet this series. But in order for him to really have one, it probably has to be competitive throughout. He's not going to have that 30-point performance with only playing 3 quarters the way the Lakers are guarding him.
All right, Kev, I got to say, you and I have laid it out for James Harden. But he did finally show up for a game and in an important spot there. But I still looking at this Cavs team, and I know they've been great at home, but they were still trailing under 5 minutes ago in that game. And it feels like Detroit is got a good opportunity of going back up 3-1. What do you think we get here tonight?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Detroit is better than Cleveland. I think we've seen the Pistons really settle into the postseason, if you will. I think guys, like Tobias Harris have kind of now, I am going to be a 20-point per game guy. Like, it's just what it is. He's really found that rhythm. I don't really think there's a body that Cleveland can seemingly throw at him to get him off rhythm. Sir Thompson's been contributing. Obviously, everybody knows the Cade Cunningham stuff. The thing that I remain completely fascinated in is the Jalen Duren postseason. I thought the 15-15 in Game 7 against Orlando was going to perhaps, kind of catapult him into this series where he could have some big performances. I understand Jalen Duren isn't like a front page superstar, but again, Jalen Duren is going to make All NBA this year. Okay, there are only 15 guys that make it, and he's going to be one of them. He averaged 20 and 11 in the regular season, and he is averaging 10 and 9 on under 50% shooting. I do not understand what is going on with Jalen Duren in these playoffs. We're 10 games in to Piston playoff basketball, and he's been about their 6th best player.
Yeah, good stuff here coming out. And also, Victor Wembanyama getting tossed from the game last night. We got a series now in Minnesota, some fun things to watch. The New York Knicks advance after hammering the Philadelphia 76ers. I actually hope it is Detroit because I think it's a pretty intriguing matchup between Detroit and the New York Knicks. Be great for TV. And then, again, still rooting for the San Antonio Spurs because I would like to see the Spurs and OKC in that Western Conference final. Then away you go to decide who is going to win the championship, Kevin. But as we know, the NFL moves everything around when they want to have some of their time. So they know the schedule's coming out this week. They give us a leak this morning, Kevin. It's the Cowboys and it's the Giants week number 1. This game will be played at MetLife. And I say to myself, how much more misery do the Giants want? You go back to the records, Kevin. 11-1 are the Dallas Cowboys when they play the Giants week number 1. And just to add insult to injury, we sat, Kevin, in Atlantic City in the sports book at the Ocean. Game number 1, I was like, this is going to be a public fade out here. I'll take the Giants against, I think it was like 30-0 on that week 1 show for my best bet of the week. How do we feel moving forward with the schedule coming out? And also, we're right around the corner with an NFL season already, and it only ramps up now.
So the immediate reaction is, boy, everybody better be right that Harbaugh is going to make the Giants good. Because we're going to get a lot of Giants primetime games. And I'm not so sure they're going to be all that good. I just would like to circle back to what Giants fans said when they hired Harbaugh, which is, no. We don't think we're going to win 11, 12 games. We just want to be competent. We just want to be 500. No. And by the time we get to that scene, like, Giants going to win the NFC. So what do you mean, Giants? Hey, we got Harbaugh. Jackson Dart. We're going to win the NFC. Okay, all right. So that's where we're headed with that. As far as the NFL schedule release, I mean, I still don't understand when the NFL season begins. On a Wednesday, but like a week and a half later than usual. There's no Friday game, Thursday game. Here's the thing. A couple of years back, understandably, DRS would kind of poke fun at how, the NFL took over Christmas because they could. And I was like, listen, yes, obviously as an NBA guy, I'm annoyed by that. But also, this isn't good. It's too much. And by the end of this season, everyone will agree with me. The NFL, everyone will be like, more NFL. By the end of this NFL season, people are like, is this thing over yet? Is this over yet? Because I've had enough of the NFL. It's way too much.
I mean, Liff, you're doing a weekly show with Joe Lisi. Yeah, when is this season over, people? I mean, that's what we say around here at this point. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us today. Game Time Decisions tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern. Catch it. Over the summer where there's drastic changes and gas drops down to $3 a gallon, $2.50 a gallon in some states, and then you have some of the price markets go down. You ride that momentum is what Joe's talking about. So if you say right now, which party will win the U.S. House, and you think it's the Republicans currently trading at 20%, you take them now, and if good press comes, that turns into 25% and 30%, then you have the option to cash out.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
There is a pick tonight that Gabe has that, to some degree, I find completely outrageous. Then I looked at it a second longer, and it might be a really smart angle.
I like to test them a little bit.
I like
to test them a little bit.
I like that a lot.
Oh, you don't know? You don't know this team name? You should. You're in the sports business.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Number 1, who asked for this? Nobody, but nobody asked for a bump up in the number of teams in both the men and the women's basketball tournament from 68, including the 4 play-in teams, to 76. By the way, it looks like it is a near-done deal. ESPN and ABC News report this morning that's very close to being done. It could be announced by the end of this week.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Schedule leaks coming out in the NFL this week. As we said, we already got one. Excitement in the air as the Giants are going to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Now we'll find out who's going to play opening night. We also know who's going to play on a Friday, but a Thursday is a Friday between the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. But that Sunday night football game is the Cowboys and the Giants. That bookends sort of that weekend. And then we find out who's going to be playing on Monday Night Football. Major League Baseball, short schedule today that will play. Full schedules on Tuesday. Nice little doubleheader in the NBA. One game in the NHL tonight to get the people ready for Joe. So we got some good stuff to go over. But this is a time where we get to the public and say to themselves, yay! Where are you going, public? Let's fade the public here. Yeah. The Fade the Public poll, Joe. And this is how excited we are. And granted, I just did a little preamble on what you can get excited for this week and today, but I didn't include the PGA. And apparently, maybe the people out there, the tabulations are in. They're not too excited by the PGA. But if I have to say to myself, trying to stick with a common theme here. Scotty Scheffler plus 480. I told you weeks ago, Joe, on PME, I'm fading Scheffler. Zero championships here in the majors for Scotty Scheffler, so I can't pick Scotty this week. Who do you go with this week?
Yeah, and that's exactly when you got to pick him, unfortunately, because we know exactly what's going to happen here, right?
Yep.
It's that just when you stop thinking about him and you're going, all right, now we can finally concentrate on somebody else. He ends up, shooting 20 under, wins another major. Would not shock me here. But I would also, I wouldn't sleep on Brooks Koepka. I think he's got a pretty good shot this week at a pretty good price. But I think we're getting to the point of the season now with a whole lot of finishing runner-up. I think now might be the time to start buying in on good old Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, it could be this week here. Ronimink just outside of Philadelphia, fired up in this marketplace. Had a lot of energy last week, and now the pros descend into town. And maybe a couple of those guys were at, the Sixers game yesterday and saw that ridiculousness out there. But we'll see if that Philly crowd is angry with a hangover. And also, see who's going to win this championship at Ronimink. But it's new week, Joe. It's new money. It's time for best bets. Here's bye. Oh, boy, it is a Monday, Joe. You got baseball, you got hockey, you got the PGA, you got even more action you can shake a stick at today. Where are we going with your best bet action today, Joe?
We are going to go with, I think, a very live barking dog here today, Donnie. And if it ain't broke, I don't know why we're trying to fix it, but I will take the Tampa Bay Rays at plus money, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
Now, listen, Tampa just swept Toronto back on that series in May 5th in Tampa. And we actually watched, we watched this pitching matchup. Rasmussen gave up 3 runs there, but ultimately it didn't matter because Tampa won the game 4-3. And I think maybe that's why we're starting to see a little bit of love here for Toronto. But listen, in the last 15 games, Tampa's won 13 of them. In their last 15 games, Toronto's won 8 of them. 8-7, 13-2. Yeah, I'm not stepping. You want to give me the best team right now at plus money, like Atlanta was yesterday, for instance? Yes, I will take the best team in Major League Baseball, certainly American League right now, on a roll. I'll take the Rays at plus money all day here.
By the way, take a look at these two pitchers coming in some pretty good form, too. 185 batters Kevin Gausman has faced, a 126 ISO against, and a weighted on base percentage of 255. That is great. Flip it over to Drew Rasmussen, a 150 ISO against, and a 245 weighted on base percentage. Runs could be at a premium, which usually, Joe, plays right into right into Tampa Bay's hands. We'll see how that one plays out. For me, this is one of those games where it's late night tonight. It starts at 10:30. I won't be up, and thank goodness I'm not, because this is one of those bet it, forget it, and hope you win. Why? Because I'm taking the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, getting 10.5 points. Only around 23% of the tickets coming in directly on those Los Angeles Lakers. Line opened up at 10.5, still sits at 10.5. It's been a runaway for the Thunder here, and maybe you should take them in the first quarter of the first half just to see if the Lakers have a pulse. This could be a blowout like we saw yesterday from the Knicks against the Philadelphia 76ers. Because, like, hey, I don't want to get back on a train and go to New York City. And maybe the Lakers don't want to get back on a plane to go back to OKC. But I got a public fade today, Joe. I'm taking the Lakers with the 10.5. One last stand. How about 109-103 loss for the Lakers, and everybody goes home happy?
I think that's a possibility here, but they're going to have to play 4 quarters, Donnie, something we have not seen them do yet.
By the way, where's Luka? I thought he was coming back game 1 of the first round series here. Still not back at this point, but we'll be back via me on deck next, right here